Good morning, Internet. Mike Phillips here with LeadTheTeam.tv, and thank you for tuning in to The Front this Sunday morning. I'm doing this every Wednesday and Sunday. The Front is on leadership, leading from the front, being out front, having the vision to lead your team to absolute excellence. So please, by all means, you can comment down below here. You can, to participate in the discussion, you could please leave a comment, and by all means, subscribe to my live feeds and subscribe on YouTube at LeadTheTeam.tv. So let's jump right into it this morning. I'm talking about you don't have to be first. Now, that theme can seem a little ironic because for me and the people that I teach and coach, I'm often talking about that you want to go after and be number one. Being first and being number one do not go hand in hand. When I'm talking about being first, I'm talking about you don't have to be first to do something in business. You don't have to be the first to accomplish something in business. You don't have to be the first with a particular idea or a product or an endorsement. The thing about being first, oftentimes that may get you a little bit ahead of the curve or ahead of the game, but it's not necessarily the people that are first to bring something to market that are the ones that have a sustainable business or business model. So when I'm talking about you don't have to be first, it does not mean that you should not be striving to be number one. I'm always about striving to be to the next level. If you're fourth or fifth or 10th or 117th, you should be striving to be up one level from where you're at right now today. What are you doing today to improve your tomorrow? So when I'm talking about you don't have to be first, you have to be at least good at something to bring content or to bring a product or to bring a person into the environment, into the market. You have to be at least good or better than that. It doesn't mean you need to be an expert to start out. You don't have to be an expert to start out, but you do need to learn and remain teachable. And over your time of learning the information, sharing the information, pushing the information out to others, that's how engaging in collaborative works. That's how over time people in general in potentially your industry or even outside of your industry begin to view you as an expert on a particular subject matter. So keep in mind, you don't have to be an expert to start. You just have to get started. You have to get going. And like I said at the beginning, there is a difference between being first to do something and being number one once you are continually doing something. Being number one means that you have the results to prove that you are number one. You have the successes. You have the either the revenue or the income or the people when asked about your position can easily say, oh, the number one person in this industry or in this sect of business is that individual. So to gain, and here's one of the keys, to gain number one status, it is a matter of continuing to do the right things and doing the right things the right way. To be number one, it's about handling people properly. It's about leading people properly. It's about building a business properly. There is a certain way to address and handle people. There's a certain process. And the fact of the matter is there's a certain product or way that the product is presented. You can't sell a crummy product in any business, especially now, and expect to be number one. If you sell a crappy product, it's out there. It's on the internet. It's on social media. If it's not a good quality product, people are going to know about it. Same way, if it is a great quality product, if you have a great culture and things are presented masterfully, if you are an expert in your field, people are going to know about that as well. Right? Starting something great doesn't require uniqueness. Keep that in mind. Starting something great does not require you to be unique. It requires you to take action. It requires you to go after it. It requires you to start. It doesn't mean, hey, my product has to be absolutely unique to this other product, or my personality or my individual has to be absolutely unique to this. But it does mean that you need to start. Think about this for a second. Let's look at Apple. And me personally, I'm not an Apple product user, but I am a fan of the Apple philosophy and culture. Let's take a look at Apple. In the 1970s and 1980s, Jobs and Wozniak, those guys, while everybody else was talking about new technologies, everybody else was excited about new technologies, and they said, hey, there's this opportunity in the 70s and 80s, and right before then we hit the big, computer boom. These two guys actually took action. They went out and took out contracts with other companies. They took action and found a way to produce a product. They didn't just sit back and talk about it. They moved, right? And so by any means, they weren't the first to do something like that, but they took steps to make it happen. So I'm going to move forward here. Let's talk about 5 tangible steps that you can do to be at least good, or certainly in your craft, or certainly better than your competition. Number 1, this is a big one. Number 1 is follow through. You have to have, it's simple. It's personal fortitude to follow through and do what you say you will do. So for example, in sales, if you say, hey, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, I'll call you back. It's simple. Call them back, right? That's you manage the expectation. That follow through is managing the expectation with the consumer. The follow through, this number 1 follow through, can carry you through a whole lot of this other stuff while you're learning, while you're building a business, while you're building a team, while you're managing yourself and selling. I'll give you an example. My wife recently reached out to a business for one of our children because we wanted to conduct business with a particular company. She reached out and said, hey, we have an opportunity here. Here's what I'd like to do. I want to get my son engaged in this and that and the other. Left a message. We wanted some additional information. And in fact, we'd gotten an email saying, hey, call us or call this number for additional information. So we did that. We executed on what was asked of us as the consumer. And guess what? No follow through, no callback. So at the end of the day, we don't do business with them. Why? If there's no follow through at the onset, the assumption is they're not going to follow through once we've engaged in the product or service. So number 1's a big one. If we're talking about a tangible way that you can, again, you don't have to be first, but you want to talk about a tangible way to build and be unique, just follow through. It's a huge one. Number 2, keep it simple. We have such a tendency to complicate success. People are constantly, especially now, constantly innovating and moving and going and saying, oh, well, here's the next big thing. Here's the new way. I'm in the auto industry, and it's like, here's the next big way that people are going to buy cars. Sometimes you just need to keep it simple and work on the relationship and worry about what is important to the consumer. Actually connect with them in a manner that they want. If they want to call back, call them back. Right? If they want to text back, text them back. If they've started in an email, follow up with an email. Start establishing that relationship and communicate on their level. And from there, you just go. Keeping it simple is one of those things. When you're struck with an idea, for me, when I'm struck with an idea, it's like sometimes you just go. There's not a whole lot of polish or planning to it. If you've watched some of my live videos or some of the previous videos, there's not a whole lot of depth of planning, and that's seeable. But people see the passion and they go, okay, well, you're just going after something. So sometimes you just take that step and keep it really simple. Once the idea strikes, you go. Number 3, know your target, right? Know your market. You have to know what or whom you're going after. What is the goal that you are pushing after to achieve? What is the end result that you want? What do you want to see at the end? And I'm telling you this right now, write it down. When you write things down, it is so much more powerful because then there's a way for you to look back and hold yourself accountable to it. So you got to know the target. You've got to know the market. You've got to know the consumer. Number 4, know your product. It is amazing to me today in business, people that are selling a product that don't know about the product. Take the time to learn and value your product. Now, especially if you're an entrepreneur and it's something that you are selling, if you're the product, for example, sometimes we think, well, that's easy, right? I can sell myself. Well, the thing is, you have to, I would take the time to write that down too. What is the important piece? What is my unique selling proposition for myself or my product? What will my product accomplish for this consumer that I am speaking to? You have to know the product. When you don't know the product, it also assumes, and it assumes that you don't care. If you know the product, when you take the time to study it, it shows that you care enough that you've invested your time, your energy to learn it and be able to properly present it to the consumer and show them what's important and help them push through it. Number 5, because I told you there's 5 tangible steps, change the world. That's easy, right? At least change your industry. If that's what one of your goals is, and I know I connect with a lot of really awesome people in the auto industry, and each one of these individuals has the goal that they want to change their industry and change the world. You have to be willing yourself to be unique when you're going to change something. You have to be willing to be nervous, be anxious, and be embarrassed and still overcome that and say, you know what? I'm going to do me. Because this is what it's about. For you to change that, think about this. There's so many industries that the leading experts, the people that have been in it forever, and there are many, many industries. This spans across all kinds of business, that the industry experts are preaching the same. More of the same, more of the mundane, more of the, well, here's that it's the 7 words that kill business. That's from Dave Anderson, right? We've always done it that way before. 7 words that kill business. And so a lot of these industry experts, and they've become so lethargic that they're missing that the innovation of when it strikes. Like I said in number 2, keep it simple. All of a sudden, boom, it strikes. Put it out there. It's easy to put it out on video right now through a phone, on social media, blog it, write it, podcast it. It is so easy to put your information down and share it. And it's hopeful and likely that it will impact somebody. So there it is. That's my message for today. Thank you for taking the time to join me on the front. Again, my name is Mike Phillips. Keep in mind, you don't have to be first, but you do have to be at least good at it. Thanks again, and tune in next time to The Front.